a more elaborate liturgy than
Yes, it's an ancient literary.
literary?
It's an ancient liturgy from Saint John Chrysostom.
Oh, okay. So is it longer?
Yes, it's longer. Yeah, Lent it's even extra longer because we actually do a liturgy of Saint Basil, which can go like an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes.
Oh, okay.
But typically it's about an hour 15.
Oh, okay.
Not bad.
All
But
right.
you get lost in all the chants and the singing, and it's just, because it's so fluid, the whole thing. You don't really realize.
Yeah, it's right. It's engrossing. The whole person
Yes,
is engaged there.
engrossing.
Yes,
I
what
like
they
that
use,
word.
what is sometimes called smells and bells.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
all right, Rochelle Lucero, the entire person behind the podcast Clumsy Theosis, who is our guest today?
That would be Andrew Hermes, our video aficionado here at Catholic Answers. Also a fellow Eastern Rite Catholic. However, he's Chaldean Rite. Yeah.
That's right.
And,
Hello, Andrew.
And Marvel comic.
Maven.
I don't discriminate.
Yeah.
Marvel and DC.
DC. Okay, good, good. I was like, okay, how do I say this right?
All right, so tell what Andrew, you are the guy who makes all the video happen around here. We do a TV show. We do a lot of videos, DVDs, whether it's somebody out speaking somewhere or you record something, and you also make you now what's it called? School of Apologetics you're starting or that you're working on?
Yeah, the next big sort of project that the whole apostolate is sort of developing is this School of Apologetics. We're developing a set of video courses that people can take and do it at at their own leisure. And there's really nothing like it. Apologetics is sort of our thing, so I think it's a great idea that we're doing a sort of a learning series on because anyone can be an apologist. I mean,
You should explain what apologetics is.
What
because
do we not explain that ever? Yeah.
Well, no, it's just that it's not the most common. It's not like evangelization or missionary work. It is a work of the church, apologetics. But what is it?
Sure. I mean, apologetics simply is defending the faith. The word. We're not apologizing literally for it. That's not what it.
Lately, we
what
have
it
been.
means. Yeah, I know.
Well, not for the faith.
Well, not for the faith, but
It's
yeah,
for the governance of the church.
Sure, absolutely. But it's just to be able to explain and defend your faith. To use history, to use facts, to use the Word of God, and to use church teaching. Basically everything at our disposal to defend the faith.
And the word apology comes from apologia, right? Which means to give an account for.
Oh, okay.
Right. So like back in the early days of Christianity, they were being called out to give an account for what they believe and why they practice what they practice.
And then we got apologetics from that. Okay, so we are Catholic Answers, the entity behind this program, Catholic Answers Today, here on Radio Maria US, is an apologetics ministry, apologetics apostolate, I guess, if you wanted.
Ministry.
A media ministry. So we do social media, you do that.
I do that.
We do video, you do that.
I do that.
We do radio.
You do that.
I do that. We do TV. But we also go out in person and do stuff. So our apologists go out and do talks and give conferences and all that kind of thing. And I bring that up because, Andrew, you being in charge of the video, all the apologists, well, a good number of the apologists, not all the apologists, are going, I'm going, we're going to do the radio show from there to Australia.
What?
Did you-
I
yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah, this is top
Down
secret.
under.
I'm not supposed to talk about it that much, but because I don't think the big announcements. But don't you think we're going to need a video guy there? That's what
You're
I'm
going to
getting
need a
to.
social media person there so I could do all these live videos.
We all have a Twitter
That
account. We
would
don't
be.
need
That would be. You're right.
I can do the live
We need a
feed,
social media and video presence in Australia. You guys should come. I guess there's a real movement of. First, two things. One, Catholics are a little bit being picked on. And I don't want to say persecuted because persecuted is a very strong word. But being harassed.
They're
being
also
harassed.
being persecuted.
No, where you come
Yeah.
from, Catholics are being persecuted.
Yeah, that's what
you know,
I'm
where
meaning.
your people
Yeah.
come from. But
I
in
wouldn't
Australia,
say, no,
I
I
mean,
wouldn't say in Australia. You're right.
there's probably harassment of of Catholics and for their beliefs, and so there's a weird kind of revitalization of Catholic faith because people are like, well, let's take this seriously. What do we got here? So we want to go and be a part of that. Now, when I said where you're from, you're not actually from.
Iraq.
I was going to say the Fertile Crescent.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
the Fertile Crescent.
Because I remember my 6th grade. But Iraq, yeah. But
Yeah.
most Chaldean Catholics are most Chaldean Catholics from Iraq? Because that's Chaldean,
Almost all, almost all are from Iraq. Our people, I mean, another word for our people and the region we come from is called the cradle of civilization, because we date back to.
Fancy.
I thought that was
Yeah.
Ireland.
They came a few years later. I think.
What are you talking about?
But yeah, we date back to Babylonian times, the region of Mesopotamia, where modern day Iraq and Iran is right now, and parts of Turkey. But most of our people do hail from Iraq. You'll have some exceptions that are from Iran, but we hail from Iraq. Our church is our patriarchate is in Iraq still to this day. And yeah, I'm not literally from there. My parents are. I'm a first generation Chaldean American. And
You seem like such a lazy, laid-back Californian. You accomplished that in one generation. You accomplished that. That's very
Yeah.
impressive, Andrew.
Yeah, we assimilate.
Yeah.
But no, Chaldeans actually, they're known to be very. At least our parents are. I mean, we're lucky. I'm lucky to be a first generation born American, but our parents were hard workers and sacrificed a lot to come to this country, just like a lot of immigrants have. But they fled war, they fled oppression.
Yeah.
So lucky to be here.
And I wonder too. I've noticed like very deeply Catholic cultures. They do have like a strong work ethic, but they also know how to relax and how to really just like chill and lay back and enjoy family and food.
Oh my gosh, the
You know what I'm
food,
talking
huh?
about?
Yeah. Explains my waistline. Yeah.
So, all right. So, a Chaldean Catholic, then, also like a Byzantine Rite Catholic, is 100% Catholic,
Yes.
but not Latin Rite.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So, your liturgies?
Yeah, our
What are
liturgy.
they like?
Yeah, our liturgy dates back to St. Thomas. So
Yeah.
it's the most ancient liturgy the Catholic Church has, and yeah, we're all about the smells and the bells too.
Yeah.
I want to say I think our liturgy is shorter than the Byzantine liturgy. I think,
really?
Yeah, I think it's kind of
it's regular. It's like ours.
Yeah.
It's like Latin Rite.
yeah, yeah, totally, exactly.
Not at all.
No, yeah, but we still what our liturgy still does, and so does the Maronite liturgy to some degree, but ours mostly we still use the Aramaic language.
For the not for the whole thing, or is
Not for the, I mean
For
for
the consecration.
for the high mass, yeah, but
Yeah, yeah.
especially for the consecration. I
That's
mean for
so
the
cool.
yeah for the high mass, it's all spoken in Chaldean, which is just a modern dialect of Aramaic. But the consecration and a lot of the hymns are still in the old Aramaic.
So
And for
we
people
u-
that don't know,
Yeah.
that's the language that Jesus spoke during the Last Supper when he
Yeah.
did the
So
consecration.
Jesus grew up speaking Aramaic
Correct.
because that's what
Yeah.
they spoke in Nazareth.
Yes.
And so he's there with all his Nazareans.
Nazareans.
I was going to say Nazarenes, but that's not right. That can't be right. There's Nazarenes. And so when you celebrate, and this is something that strikes me when I am at the cathedrals. Is it St. Peter's?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I had that right.
Yeah.
St. Peter's Cathedral here in outside of San Diego here. When you hear those words, you're like, I don't know. There's a special intimacy with it, I guess, is the way I've said. Like you feel really close to Christ because you're hearing the consecration words in the exact language that he spoke.
Absolutely, and it's powerful because I think the movie Passion of the Christ, the whole movie was in Aramaic, and
Yeah.
for the longest time it was the highest grossing rated R movie ever.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't, if you were to tell people that you were gonna make a whole movie
In
the
Aramaic.
language.
It's
You
gonna be
wouldn't
the
think it was
biggest movie
yeah.
ever. Yeah.
So yeah, there is something powerful about that. I think just knowing that that's the language he spoke, and
Right.
and getting to hear that every day, in our right is something that we can be proud of because obviously it's a dead language, but it's being kept alive through our liturgy.
So I went to mass. I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. I don't. How long has St. Peter's been there? It was,
A long time. It's I want to say it was established in the late 70s.
all right. So I want.
Yeah.
I want to go like 20 years ago.
Okay.
I go to mass there. I've never been to it. I had never been to a Chaldean mass,
Mhm.
and this is why I became one of those people who thinks that the consecration should be done with the priest facing towards God,
I'm totally with
Yeah.
you.
not towards the people. This has nothing to do with like I'm a old timey, because I'm not really that old timey. I'm not
Yeah.
really. I go to the Latin mass. I go to the new mass, the
yeah,
regular
Novus
mass. But I'm not an old timey person. But it took my breath away when that priest turned to face God on our behalf. You get the sense of a sacrifice being offered on you, and you're participating in that. It was a visceral, physical feeling of, oh man. And that's why I told you I love Chaldeans, and then you told me,
Yeah. That's sort of a controversy in
the
our church.
Chaldean.
Yeah, well, maybe controversy is too harsh, but there's definitely which happens in a lot of different rites and also in the Latin rite to a large degree, but there is in our rite a sort of, you can call it a Latinization, or wanting to be more modern, so to speak. There are two schools of thought on whether we should be saying Mass ad orientem or not, and we're in a pivotal point in the Chaldean Church where it's really in the Vatican's hands right now, because we have two liturgies that have been approved. So we have the liturgy that was approved in 2006 that allows ad orientem to be performed, and actually it's actually a requirement. You don't have a choice in that
If you
liturgy.
use that liturgy, okay.
Yeah. And then there's a liturgy. Then there was a later liturgy. I believe it came about in 2013. That it doesn't specify whether you can do either or, but there has kind of been pressures, I would say, to put it lightly, that everyone face the people. And right now, since we have two liturgies up in the air, we're waiting on the Vatican to approve one or the other going forward.
yeah.
And just stick to it. So there are, and obviously I'm on your side, Si. I hope we can.
I wish it wasn't
yeah.
sides like that. I mean, but I know what you mean. It's just that I loved the Chaldean liturgy from that moment,
Yeah.
and then I heard, oh, you're not doing that anymore. it just, but
Yeah, it's sad.
And many Catholics have been raised their entire lives, probably most Catholics now, without experiencing the offering, the sacrifice of the and people will say with the priest's back turned towards the people. Well, okay, that's one way to say it, because that is the truth. But the real thing is we're all oriented the same direction towards the, well, in most churches, towards the crucifix, so that
Correct.
we have this visceral reminder of what we're doing. We're representing the sacrifice that Christ made on the cross. And I forget where I was going with this. It's just that I wish it wasn't a political issue, like a sign of, oh, you're that kind of Catholic, or you're that
Right.
kind of Catholic, because it's just beautiful. And I
Yeah.
wish more people had experienced it to see that it's beautiful to do it that way.
Yeah, I think part of the issue is usually what you hear, like why we face the people. You hear this sort of reasoning of unity, right? And I think unity can be used sort of in a disordered way. I think it's like, well, if the Catholic Church, if the whole Catholic Church performed Mass pretty much the same way, all the different rites don't practice and hold dear their traditions, like in the case of the Chaldean Church, traditions that date back to the actual apostles, then we're just going to be one jumbled kind of watered down
Right.
sort of faith. And we see examples of that in the whole church, and that's part of the problem. That's why we're seeing a lot of people leave, and we're seeing a lot of people not really care about the liturgy. And we're also, but sort of the response to that is why you're seeing like this millennial generation kind of, a lot of them rise up,
Yeah,
a lot
we
of the
want
young,
our tradition.
yeah,
We're
we
like,
like the
hey,
smells and the bells, we
yeah.
don't like
Yeah.
the,
We're like, stop messing with something that has been around for 1,000 years. Or
Right.
so,
When
Yeah.
when you go, I think a lot of young people today are saturated by the world. They don't want to go into church and it's exactly like the world. They
Yeah.
want to go to a different world.
because it's not. Yeah, that's
Which-
exactly what it's supposed to be.
Right. You're listening to Catholic Answers today on Radio Maria US. I am Cy Kellett, your host. Our co-host today is Rochelle Lucero, who produces the Clumsy Theosis podcast, which I'll ask you about to just elaborate on a little bit in a minute. And our special guest today is Andrew Hermes.
Yeah, did I say your name right? I said Hermes. Is that
Did you
wrong?
see how
Oh,
I
yeah, it's-
paused
I
after
know,
I said his
yeah,
name?
I'm like,
I was
wait a
looking at him
minute.
like,
it's a common mispronunciation. It's Hermes, yeah.
Hermes.
Yeah.
because we live we're so close to Mexico.
Right.
We're used to pronouncing words with a Spanish.
Yeah.
Any foreign
Isaac.
name gets a
Yeah.
kind of Spanish accent.
Absolutely.
So Andrew Hermes, who produces video here at Catholic Answers, is our special guest. And part of the reason why he is our special guest today is that he's an expert on superheroes.
He's got the lowdown.
And we wanted to take a moment. We don't want to be like completely separated from the most important events in the world. And clearly the most important event in the world right now is the Avengers movie.
Endgame.
Yeah.
Avengers
Dun,
Endgame.
dun, dun.
Have you guys seen it?
Yes, I've seen it once.
You've seen it once. I've seen it once.
I saw it.
Andrew?
Yes, I saw
I've
it
seen it
twice.
Confess.
Twice.
Oh.
I think he's lying. I think
Yeah.
he's seen it more than that.
I wish I did. Yeah. But I didn't have a baby at home. I would have seen it many more times.
You've seen it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not going to do any spoilers yet. We'll get to the spoilers
Yeah.
later.
And we'll warn
But-
people.
But first of all, a basic thumbs up, thumbs down rating, however you want to phrase it, 1 to 10, 5 stars, whatever, from both of you, on how did Marvel wrap up its 22 movie journey? Was it 22 movies?
22
22
movies.
movies since
It's the
Iron
first
Man.
Iron Man, yeah.
So how did the wrap up go? You know what? You just hang on because you're the expert. Let's go to the podcaster, the social media guru.
Yeah, and little disclaimer here. I'm not like a super fan. I wouldn't even call myself a fan. My husband's a fan.
Yeah.
And so I'll go with him to see the movies.
You are the best wife.
And then we'll watch them at home. But you know what? What I do like is the fact that they're not just like singular like superhero movies. There's like this story arc that has gone on for like all these years, and I love like a good mystery, and I want to solve the problems and like pick up the clues from the different movies. So it has captured me in that way.
Hey, cool.
So your question about Endgame.
That being said, yeah.
I would give it a 4.5.
Out of 10?
Oh, I thought it was out of
Oh, okay.
stars are 5, right? There's 5
I
stars.
didn't know what
No,
system
don't
you
do
were
that to
using. I
me.
said use any system you want. Okay, 4.5 out of 5
Out
stars.
of 5, yeah. It's a 3-hour movie, and I've said this before. I am normally like uncomfortable in movie theaters after like an hour and 45 minutes, and I was not uncomfortable. I was not ready to go home. I usually use the bathroom at least once.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get up to use the restroom. I was like totally engaged the whole time, and I was seeing threads. Okay, now I'm a big Harry Potter fan. So,
Okay, uh-oh.
and I love how in Harry
Uh-oh.
Potter, like in
You
the,
said Harry
the
Potter.
end of the movies,
We're
I
in
know
trouble
people are going
now.
to be like, "Oh my gosh!"
Oh, by the way, if you want to call and complain about that Rochelle is a fan of Harry Potter, 888-318-6666. 888-318-7884 is the number. 888. No, I want people to call.
Yeah.
888
And shame me.
318-7884. All right, so go ahead, finish.
Okay.
So
All
you're-
right, I'm sorry. I'm like cross-referencing all these different things, but I love how in the end of that book series, like you see all of these threads tied up that you didn't really realize needed to be tied up from like book 1 and book 2 and things like that. And I thought the Endgame did the same thing. Like
Yeah.
it solved the overall arching problem.
Yeah.
But then it also tied up all these little loose ends, and I was like, oh, I remember that from this movie, and I remember that from this movie. You know, don't ask me to recall them right now.
No,
because
but I know
won't
what
be
you
able to
mean.
do that.
No, I know what you mean. I thought, yeah, okay, so people can call for me to 888-318-7884. When I read the last Harry Potter book, my reaction when it was all over was she did it. Like, she pulled it off.
Mm-hmm.
That's very hard to do, 7 books, and you pay it all off in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And that, so you give it a 4.5. Why did it lose 0.5? What? Just because nothing's perfect in this world, or what?
No. Well, I don't want to like have like a spoiler moment here, but there's a big question that I need resolved. That
I can probably resolve it.
Yeah, but
When we get into
yeah,
spoilers,
okay.
we'll get into spoilers, right? We
Okay.
have to at this point.
Yeah. Other
Whatever
than
we
that,
Yeah.
that's why. And
Okay.
it might just be because of me. Like once I have the answer, I'll be like, oh, okay, that makes so much sense. It's amazing.
All right,
We'll
let's
see.
go to the man himself. He was born to give a review of this movie. So,
Yeah.
is there a comic book you haven't read? Have
Oh
you-
yeah, there's plenty.
Really?
Comic books? Yeah. Well, I mean,
I guess there's a lot of comic books.
there's quite a few. Yeah. But as far as this movie, you know, obviously I eat this stuff up. Like even the bad comic book movies, I'll go out and see and try to find the good things in them.
Oh, by the way, no spoilers until after I give the spoiler alert.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so
yeah.
hang on to that.
Don't spoil Endgame.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure everyone's already seen it.
Everyone
We
on
look
Earth
at
has
the-
seen it twice.
we look at the
Look
box.
at how much money it made.
We'll talk about the box office numbers, but yeah, it's quite amazing. But I think a movie like this, like no movie's without its flaws, obviously, but I would give this a perfect score. I would give it a, you know, since there are 22 Marvel movies, I'll give it a 22 out of 22.
Oh, nicely done. A 22 out of
Yeah.
22. That's good. It's not a 23 out of 23, but
Yeah.
it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. I mean, I think a movie, yeah, a movie,
Bad joke.
yeah. I think a movie like this, obviously, you know, people are, you know, seeing it in droves, and it's already the number 2. It's already number 2 on the worldwide box office list of all time,
Is
and
it
it's only been
really?
out. It's only been out a week. Yeah, so it's shattering every record. So that means everyone's going out to see it. So that means, what that tells you is that this movie kind of transcends, you know, what a movie is. You know, and that's quite a
Wait.
rare thing.
What? Wait,
Yeah.
what? It transcends what a movie is. What does that mean?
Oh, now we're getting into
Yeah, this is deep philosophical
film
stuff.
theory. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, no,
it's an event.
It's an event. It's more
Yeah.
than a film.
I got you,
It's
yeah.
not. Obviously, you can't. You know, you wouldn't recommend someone going in blind and seeing this movie. Although obviously a lot of people are, because almost everyone's going to see it.
They just have to go and see
Yeah,
what everyone's
they want to
talking
be a
about.
part of the conversation. They want to see what is going on. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, and my parents taking me to see Titanic 2 times. You know, I didn't care to see Titanic. I was a kid, you know. But and my parents, the only reason they'd ever go to a movie was to take me to a movie that I wanted to see.
Uh-huh.
But they took me to Titanic twice. So I remember it was like a rite of passage. You had
Yeah.
to go see Titanic,
Right.
And you had to see it on.
It was a
you know,
cultural
on the big screen.
phenomenon.
Yeah.
Some movies that happens to. That it certainly happened to Gone with the Wind. That was maybe
Yeah.
I don't know if before that there were any that were, but that was a massive. If anything, Gone with the Wind was bigger than.
Yeah,
than
I
this.
think
mean,
I think if you
it-
adjust for inflation, I think Gone with the Wind is still the biggest box office movie.
and just the cultural impact of Gone with the Wind. I don't know what it was that it's a. Do you like the movie Gone with the Wind?
Yes, of course. Who doesn't love a good Scarlett O'Hara reference?
Everybody loves Gone with the Wind. It's tedious. I don't like it.
It's not for me.
It's not for me either. Yeah, so, but for me, when I was a kid, 1976, 12 years old, that was the first time I ever saw anything like this, and it was weird because it came out of came out of the blue, I guess is what I was going to say. But do you know what I'm referring to?
No.
The Summer of Jaws, summer of 1976.
Ah, the
dun,
blue.
Dun,
Mhm.
dun.
It was
Yeah.
crazy. I don't know. Like, for one thing, it makes a big impression on you when you're a kid. So the first time you ever,
Sure.
But also, Jaws did change everything. It changed the way movies are marketed. It changed the way movies are released. It certainly was a precursor for the Star Wars thing. They had a whole different understanding of how you do a big giant blockbuster
Yeah,
movie.
just a year later. Yeah.
And now it was like, before that, I think people were making movies. Now I think in some ways they were still making movies, but they're trying to make events. They're
Events,
trying to
yeah,
make events
yeah.
happen.
Because I mean, these days there's less and less reason for people to go out to the theater because now that everyone
yeah.
has a big TV at home.
Yeah.
We have 4K streaming, Netflix. You have like just this saturation of content.
That's a good point.
Yeah, people. If you want people to get their butts out of their seats and
Dude, this is Catholic
out their
Radio.
couch. Oh,
What is-
sorry.
what's the matter
They're
with you?
behind their
yeah,
bottoms.
they're bums for our
Oh,
British
I
audience.
didn't need. I wasn't looking for us to do an entire segment on various things we can call our
Synonyms.
posterior.
For that.
Thanks a lot. That's great radio
Our
right there.
glutes. Yeah. The more you need to really motivate people to leave their home and spend the money to go see a movie.
Yeah.
It better be a big event. So I think that's why, you don't really see like just the normal drama. Just hit the theater and
No.
take the world by storm. That doesn't happen anymore. You're not gonna see like a Meryl Streep movie make tons of money anymore.
No.
In the theaters. But, a lot of people will catch it on, whatever streaming service. So you'll see more of that. You see more of that stuff now released straight to streaming.
Yeah.
But when you go to the movies, it's usually a big IP, a big property like
What's IP?
intellectual property.
Oh.
Yeah. So something like that everyone knows: Marvel, DC, Lego. Disney.
Yeah.
Like when people go to the movies, they're going to. Those are the ones. Harry Potter.
It's because that's part of why Disney can get away with this, and I don't think they're just getting it away with. They're doing a very good job of it, but they make a movie like The Lion King. It's the biggest cartoon ever made, and will be forever because they're not making cartoons anymore. Now they make the CGI.
Well, they
Yeah.
did 3D. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but as far as
Like 2D animation. Yeah.
yeah, but it's just so now they remake it in as a
Live action.
CGI
It's almost
live
live
action.
action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
How realistic it is.
a couple things about that. One, we've already seen the movie,
It's exactly
right?
the
We've
same.
already seen the
yeah.
movie. But two, we were kids when we saw the movie. I think that's what I wasn't a kid when I saw it, but a lot of people they saw it as a kid. That now this is an event that Disney is creating for a young family. Like the parents saw it as a cartoon. Now we're going to take our kids and we're going to all go see
Yeah.
Lion King. It's going to be,
It's ingenious if you think about it.
Yeah. I mean
but it's kind of a. It's weird. Like it is ingenious, and it makes a lot of money, but I don't know. They're very manufactured experiences. We have this weird way in which it's not like new creativity. It's I mean even the Marvel stuff. It's all it's we know these stories. We know these characters. They're dragging out characters from the 1950s, to make movies of.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
complaining about it so much as saying it's just an odd way in which we were raised on pop culture, so
Yeah.
it's like spins around and around in a cycle of pop culture.
Yeah.
Am
And the
I-
repackaging is that what
Yeah.
kind of bugs
Yeah,
you?
repackaging
Like the
instead
repackaging
of
this-
creating and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a theological question there too, because we're born to create, So it's like if people
Yeah.
aren't creating, then what's going on with the world?
Right. And if I want to get into the theological questions, and then we're going to talk more about the movie. You're listening to Catholic Answers today on Radio Maria US, a Christian voice in your home. You can find out all about Radio Maria US by going to radiomaria.us. You can find out about Catholic Answers by going to catholic.com. I am Cy Kellett, your host. I am joined today by Rochelle Lucero and Andrew
Hermes.
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 Hermione. Andrew Hermes. And we're talking about right now. We're talking about big giant blockbuster movies because I don't know if you know this, but there's a big giant blockbuster movie out right now, the biggest ever of all time, in every way. I was. It's called. Oh, by the way, in case you don't know what we're talking about, it's Avengers Endgame. I was looking at the. They have this website where you can see all the different records that it's breaking, and it goes like this. It's like day 1 record, and it goes Avengers Endgame. Day 2 record, Avengers Endgame. Day 3 record, and then it goes day 8 record. This is when I looked. Is at Avengers Endgame. Day 9 record, Star Wars, The Force Awakens, and I was like, wow, by the 9th day, and I was like, oh no, it's only the 8th day. Like
Yeah,
we haven't,
we
it's
haven't
just
gotten to the
plowing
9th day.
through them as it goes through
Yeah.
them. So it's breaking all the records. It's going to break all the records. It's going to make a lot of people super, super rich and famous and all that kind of stuff. And it's got Rocket Raboon in it. And, is he a Raboon?
I think it's a raccoon.
A raccoon.
Oh, that's a.
You know,
He's a trash panda.
semantics.
Okay, so one is this that's the wrong word. I'm not even going to say that word, but recycling of pop culture. Does it say something about us? And is it a good thing that it says or a bad thing that it says?
Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing is obviously, up for debate. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think what we lose is, like we just talked about, the sort of original, sort of creative, something that we haven't seen before, or at least something we're not
Right.
familiar with.
Yeah.
You're not going to see those movies really break box office records. But it does say a lot about us because Hollywood knows that nostalgia is a powerful
Right.
thing, and they bank on it. And
That's right. That's what Disney's making
Amen,
all their
yeah.
money on nostalgia.
Yeah,
right now.
and they're gonna keep doing it until people stop going. So it's really on us. I mean, if we stop going to these movies,
Yeah.
they're gonna go back to the drawing board and see what else is gonna make money. But I think because of the age of cinema, being not that old, I mean, people regularly going to the movies is has been happening for what,
1920s.
Yeah.
Basically. So it's not even 100 years.
and even,
really.
and even back then it was people like wore suits to the theater. There was a special thing. Now you go in your
People
PJs.
wore suits to take a bath in those days. You ever seen pictures
Everything
Yeah.
was an
of
event.
olden
Going
times?
to a
Yeah.
baseball game. Yeah.
Right.
No, that's true. Yeah, but I think because when the Hollywood blockbuster was first created with Jaws, really,
Yeah.
I think since then you see Hollywood just sort of banking on the event film, so to speak, and when a big budget action event type film comes out
Yeah.
and it doesn't make a lot of money, then Hollywood's going to say, well, that didn't work, but we know what does work. Disney,
We need to recoup our losses.
exactly.
Let's
So
pull out another one.
Right.
it's
Yeah.
that's why what I was talking about before. I think that original content is really going to live on streaming. That's why you see the success of Netflix and Hulu, HBO. All the original content on there can succeed and thrive, especially in the TV binge format. So that's where that's going to live now. That's just our reality. And going out to see a movie, it's for the foreseeable future. It's going to be these comic book tentpole films, these Disney films, these big brands that we know.
Would either of you agree with me that there is something? I find this with rock concerts, country music concerts, all the big acts, that people go to, with Cirque du Soleil shows in a way,
Yeah.
with movies. There is an element of all of this that is liturgical. We like seeing the same thing represented in a way that we can participate in a large group experience. I mean, when like U2, I'm sure they're a great band and everything, but what they're making is liturgy when they go out there. And unfortunately, it's liturgy without worshiping quite the right person. That's my only
Yeah.
thing. Do you agree
Look
with me?
at
that
you. I had never thought of it that way, but you're getting all deep and philosophical
am.
on us.
This
No,
is
but
something
it's
people don't know
true.
about me.
Yeah.
I am very deep and
I
philosophical.
would have never guessed that.
Really? Because I am super deep.
Wow.
But I agree because people, we like group participation
Yeah.
and worship, because that's what we were made for. We know that as Catholics and
Right.
people who are strong in our faith. Yeah, we like to be able to participate in a way that it's, when it comes to movies and with music, we always have like some sort of an emotional or personalistic attachment. And so we can also offer that,
Yeah.
in this group
Right.
atmosphere, which is,
Yeah.
the liturgy.
Yeah.
But, I see what you're saying.
And it brings us together with other people, because that at the root of everything that a human wants is the desire for communion.
Yes.
And we don't know that, and that gets messed up, and that's but even
And right now it's so
even-
horizontal because of we're worshiping as a culture incorrectly.
Ourselves.
Yeah.
we're worshiping ourselves in our own culture. That's, I guess, where I'm getting to.
Yeah.
But we want communion, and these things provide a kind of communion. But you almost feel like the whole world needs St. Paul with his, let me show you a more excellent way. Like, this is not bad. This is not a bad thing. But let me show you a more excellent way. And God's not going to take movies away from you and say, well, I mean, in some cases he is. He's going to call somebody to be a monk or a sister in the cloister or what. Maybe they watch movies there when we're not looking. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They might have cable in the monastery. They shouldn't have cable. Wait a second. I gotta look into this.
Well, they have to know what to pray for. Just watch
Oh,
cable
yeah.
TV.
Right.
That's true.
This brings up, I had a friend who was, not a friend, but a man I knew and had conversations with sometimes, who was a Benedictine abbot. He's passed on now. And one time, I don't remember how the conversation was going. I said, do you think television is bad for people? And he goes, I hear the confessions. And I was like, whoa, that's intense. But he's like, all this media leads people into places that they shouldn't go, or they don't need to go, or that aren't healthy for them. And it does that for all of us. It isolates you. I mean, even if you don't have, we don't have cable in our house, but I could go onto the Google machine and I can pick up, like if we want to rent a movie.
Yeah.
We don't go to Blockbuster, our family, anymore. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
We don't even go to Blockbuster.
Yeah, I
It
think
doesn't
'cause I
exist,
think 'cause
maybe.
What?
it doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, but when you go through those Google movies, right? So
Yeah.
I'm home and let's watch a movie. There's a lot of stuff that you could pick. Nobody's ever gonna know this. That's not good for you. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's sexual in nature, or it's extremely violent or gross or whatever or it's hateful,
True.
or it's impious or whatever it is. So once again, seems to be a trend today. I forget where I was going with this point, but my bigger point is we're seeking communion and a liturgical context in which we can have a shared life with other people and all have a
Yeah.
moment together.
Yeah, and that's what Andrew was saying. Everyone is going to see this movie because they want to be part of that conversation, that experience.
Right.
The emotional highs and lows and
And if you're one of those people who's like, I'm bored at Mass, learn to do Mass. I mean, not that your boredom's automatically going to go away. Boredom is part of life. Get over it.
Yeah.
But if you learn to celebrate the liturgy, you have an experience that is in the same direction as these things, but far, far beyond. Far, far beyond.
Yeah.
yeah, so true. Like, that moment in, whatever movie it is you're watching, and the hero is valiant, and it was just like everyone in the theater just like erupts and just like hoots and hollers, and like, I mean, that's what the liturgy does when the priest offers, the body and blood, and he holds them up and he's like, behold, the body of Christ, or the Lamb of God, sorry, but it's so beyond hooting and hollering. There's just this internal just silence and stillness.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, then when you have that experience of liturgy, you start to think liturgy should be more beautiful. We should be more reverential. We should have better music. The churches should look more beautiful. And then people are like, oh, you're one of those Catholics. And then you're like, no, you don't get it. Like this, you don't go to a Marvel movie and go, man, I really hope this is half-baked.
Yeah.
I hope the music is kind of mediocre and we all just struggle through it, you know? No, you want it to be, like, once you know what it is, you have a desire for it to be more beautiful. And it can actually... And I think you also have to get over this. It can be annoying sometimes when you realize that the people who had responsibility for this liturgy didn't really put a lot of effort
Yeah.
into it, or nobody volunteered for the liturgy, and the one guy who's trying to make it happen gave it all his effort, but there's nobody there to help.
Sure.
But do you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
like we should learn.
Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect way to explain it. I mean, like when you're going to see a movie, like any Marvel movie or a movie like Endgame, there are certain expectations, right? There are certain, like, you want to go in, you want to be like shocked and awed, right? But there are certain things, that are part of the formula. You're not going to go into a Marvel movie and all of a sudden the soundtrack is going to turn into like a techno, like a pop, like,
Yeah, right, right.
Like, no, you expect the music to be, you expect to hear the strings, you expect the cinematic sort of, scope of the soundtrack. You expect everything you expect to see everything, clearly. You expect the cinematography to look just amazing. And
Yeah.
there are certain expectations. You
Yeah.
expect characters to act in certain ways that are not out of character.
Yeah.
And if they do, it better be for a good reason that can be explained. Because if you can't explain it, then it makes the movie kind of suck, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's similar. Apply that to the liturgy. I mean,
Yeah.
why should we go to a liturgy like expecting the mass to include rock and roll instruments and for the to go as far as like liturgical dancing and the stuff we see that's
Right.
kind of
it's almost as if we have to make it something it's not in order to make it appeal to people. But
Yeah.
it'd be better to invite people. I think, like, you need to think about liturgy in a different way. This isn't it's not a show. It's not a performance. This is a communal experience in which we're going to worship God together, and it's going to be very, very powerful. It's not going to be in the same categories of, of a Whitney Houston. Oh, that's not wrong. I mean, Britney Spears. Sorry, I didn't mean to go there. Britney Spears concert, or a U2 concert. It's not the same thing, but it's better.
yeah.
All right.
And the repetitive nature of the liturgy and the expectations you should have should be of the highest standard, and there's nothing wrong with the liturgy just staying the same and doing things right, because when you go to see U2, you expect them to play the hits.
Yeah, like you don't
Yeah,
expect.
You're not gonna. We're gonna play our new stuff, new experimental stuff.
Right. I
Yeah.
saw Bruce Springsteen, but he didn't play Born to Run.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like a real. That's a great concert. Hey, again, you're listening to Catholic Answers today on Radio Maria US, a Christian voice in your home. I am your host, Cy Kellett. Rochelle Lucero's with us. Andrew Hermes is here with us, and now the spoiler part. So if you haven't seen and you intend to see.
All
and
three of you watching.
Oh, yeah, right. If you haven't seen it, you don't intend it. Well, no, some people like Donna here in the office. Her husband didn't feel like going last week, so she had to wait another week. I don't. What kind of marriage is that? That's irresponsible husbanding. Like you're.
She must be in a dark place.
like Rochelle. Her husband Gary. He wants to go see the movie.
We went the first weekend.
Right, that's part of the marriage is give and take.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Go to the movies. Okay, so
Let's do
I
it.
knew that well, first of all, I want to play a game with you. Who paid the least to see the Avengers movie?
Who paid the least?
Yes, please tell me what you paid for your tickets.
I definitely did not pay the least.
I spent like $7 and something.
$7 and something.
Yeah.
You are
You
here.
saw
Would you
a
go to a
matinee?
matinee?
We go in the mornings on Saturday to like a smaller theater here in San Diego.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I
paid $28
I
or something.
I bought tickets opening day.
Uh-huh.
The
The
day.
day
Yeah, the day.
So, like,
the day
Thursday
tickets.
night?
The
The
day.
day tickets
No,
went
I
on
bought
sale.
tickets the day they went on sale. So
Yeah.
like 3 weeks before the actual film.
Right.
And I watched it at one of those like luxury theaters where you can recline the seat.
Oh, yeah.
You can order your food from your chair.
Yeah, exactly. Which I didn't want to, because I normally, if I'm going to see a movie at a place like that, I want to be able to pay attention. I don't want like waiters walking back and forth. But that just
You
happened to
decided
be
this was a big moment. You're going to.
no,
Did you
honestly.
wear your suit?
So what'd you
I
pay
wanted-
for the? Just get to
I
the
paid-
ticket. What'd you pay for the ticket?
I paid. I
Did you
think
wear your suit?
No. I should have. I felt underdressed. I paid. I want to say almost $20 for
Yeah.
that ticket. Yeah.
$4.87. Boom, I win.
Whoa. How'd you
That's
do
right.
that?
What's up?
Oh, because you were in Omaha, weren't you?
I was in Omaha, Nebraska,
Oh,
and I went
goodness.
to a 9 a.m. Saturday morning
my
show.
goodness.
I thought I had it in the bag.
I know you did.
I thought $7 was.
But Omaha is better than California in every way.
Man.
Everything is cheaper and better, and there's cows. I love it. Well, we have cows here, but
I'm sure the Mexican food's great there. Yeah.
You know what? There's a large Hispanic community there. I mean, not large by our
Sure.
standards, but
Yeah.
they're
Okay. I've
they're
never been there,
There's
so-
South Americans and there are Mexicans. It's everywhere in the
Yeah.
United States. I mean, this migration has changed the food quality of America.
Absolutely.
Tremendously.
In a very good way.
What the all right. Here's when I knew I was so happy. I was in Avengers movie, and this made me so happy. They open with a song by a band called Traffic, called Dear Mr.
Great,
Fantasy.
Great song to open up with.
And it was like, oh my gosh, like that is they've built this 21 movie thing, and the opening lyrics, I'm going to read them to you right now. Dear Mr. Fantasy, play us a tune, something to make us all happy. And that was like, these people know what they're doing. Like these Russo brothers, they know what they're doing. This is where we've had a shared fantasy basically for I don't know how many years, 10, 12, something, 15,
11 years.
11 years.
Yeah.
And they get it. And it was just such a, and also it was just a little bit of a nod to James Gunn, the guy who directed
Guardians of the Galaxy.
the Guardians of the Galaxy, because you don't usually open an Avengers movie with pop music.
You don't.
You know, that's
Yeah.
that's a real James Gunn move.
Yeah.
And so I thought I was just so happy at that moment. I
Yeah.
thought they get it. This is like they know exactly what they're doing. This is a shared fantasy, and we're gonna be happy together. And then we're gonna, as the song goes on, we're gonna let go of our gloom and all of that. That's all this is, and it's just a treat. It's nothing more, but it's such a good treat. So I was happy at that moment. At that moment, I knew this is gonna be a good movie.
Yeah, it's you're right. I mean, they do a good mixture of fan service and
Yo, you better
also-
explain fan service.
I have no idea
Yeah.
what that is.
Really, fan service is the new thing. It's a big
Yeah.
thing where.
Well, yeah, it's fan service just means showing the fans what they want to see.
I don't
yeah.
want that.
But that's what I'm saying.
There's
you
certain
do,
things
you
you-
do want that, but you don't know
Let me
because
say, big spoiler now.
yeah,
Look, when Captain Marvel picks up that Thor's hammer,
Captain America.
Captain America.
Captain America,
Yeah.
sorry, that's fan service,
Oh, absolutely.
and that was they.
yeah. You didn't know you wanted it, right? But they gave it to you.
And not only that,
Yeah.
they were paying off something from like 6 or 7 movies ago.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
yeah.
one little scene from 6 or 7 movies ago where Thor got this look in his eye, like, could he do it? If
Yeah.
you're like, I think he can do it. And then Thor yells out, I
I
knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's fan service. Is
Okay.
is we've built up this expectation, or there's a certain thing that is just for the fan, like to
Yeah.
they know that this means something.
They're in the end, yeah. So and obviously when Captain America's arc finishes and the way it finishes, that's the ultimate fan service.
Yeah.
Obviously
He got his
we're in
cake and eat it,
spoiler territory. When he got to have that dance with Peggy at the
Yeah.
end, and that's the ultimate.
And a life, right? Like
and a
whole life with her.
Yeah, and a
For
whole
some
life.
reason, that was my least favorite part of the movie, and I think the only reason is you have to mentally figure out the timeline thing. It's not in a pleasant way. Like, wait a second, they made these rules for the timeline, and he can't have done this, so it has to have happened in a different timeline.
Yes.
And then he traveled across to come back to this timeline.
That's why I gave it a 4.5. That's the thing I don't understand.
Well,
'Cause-
it's very simple. They explain
Yeah.
it in the movie.
They don't explain
They
it.
do.
in
no,
the
because
movie.
I even asked my husband. I was like, I don't understand. And we even tried to look it up online. They
Yeah.
have all those blog sites, whatever. But yeah, they're going back in time and they're altering like things that they've done or that other key pivotal players have done. So it's just like, I know like in DC you have like Flash and there's something called Flashpoint where when he goes back in time he creates an alternate timeline, but it doesn't seem like that happens here in Marvel. So it's just like I didn't hear the explanation.
Yeah, so they explain it in the movie very clearly.
Oh, very clearly.
Let me tell you.
See my skepticism.
Yeah. Mhm. Well, obviously, the Hulk explains it that the rules are very simple. If you go back, if you use the quantum technology to go back in time and you change something, it's not going to change what happens in the future. So anything you do doesn't happen. They established that, right?
Okay.
So that's why they get to go back to all these battles, get the stones, and use the stones, and nothing really affects the main timeline the MCU timeline, right? That we're familiar with. So, and then we have the scene with the Ancient One, and she explains that whenever you go back into the timeline and you change something, it creates a new reality.
Right.
So
Right,
it's
so
the
new-
multiverse theory, except whenever you're going back in time and changing something, you're just creating a new reality instead of changing your main reality.
When I hear new, I think replacement.
Oh
no,
different.
It's,
So
it's a new-
alternate.
yeah, it's an alternate reality. So
Okay.
if we have we have the main timeline, when they went back to get the stones, it didn't change anything in their main story. And the Ancient One said,
Now she's the one that was before Doctor Strange, right? She
Yes.
had the time stone.
Man,
Okay,
if you
okay.
don't like Marvel, if you're not interested right now, you're like,
Yeah.
I gotta turn it.
Yeah.
This is so in the weeds.
I know, right?
Okay, so
But-
I'm gonna take your word for it.
But-
it
but-
works in the.
But to finish off what happened with Captain America, so
I was
what,
trying to get you not to finish it off.
I know,
But, okay.
but how he got back to that bench, I know, right? No, because I know I want Rochelle to give it a 5.
Okay.
So,
I got you. Okay. Yeah.
Captain America. So Captain America went back in time to have a life with Peggy. So that means, in his new timeline that he created, he had to find either Ant-Man or one of the Avengers
Oh, and he
use the
tunneled his way
technology to
back.
come back.
I got it.
So he came back, but just for dramatic effect, he didn't come back to exactly the point where they expected him to come. He was in close proximity. He was sitting at that bench.
That all works.
Yeah. So,
But it's
so,
a
yeah.
little bit of mental work. And
A little bit, which
see,
is
the,
okay.
The movie started with Dear Mr. Fantasy. I didn't want to do work. I just
Just a little bit of work.
so that's why I wouldn't take off a half a star
Yeah.
for that. But
That's
I would.
fair, that's
It's
fine.
out of 10. I would maybe take off. I would make it a 9.7.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
9.7
as good
because
as
it made me
gets.
work mentally.
Yeah.
At the end, it was really early in the morning in Omaha, Nebraska. I didn't want to work. I wanted to relax.
I don't blame you.
Okay, so oh, dang it. There was one more thing I wanted to get to. There was a controversy about the movie, but we didn't get to it. Thor.
Oh, I
it's-
loved it.
I loved it too.
I loved it too.
Thor's physical appearance.
Oh,
We all right
I
with
love
it?
that part.
I liked it. It was my favorite part.
Rochelle Lucero, you can find her at Clumsy Theosis. Wherever you get podcasts, just subscribe to Clumsy Theosis. And when you do, you'll be happy. And leave a review that says you're happy. Andrew Hermes is coming with me to Australia in October, if I can make it happen.
And
you
Rochelle
better make it
Lucero.
happen.
And I am Cy Kellett, your host. You're listening to Catholic Answers today on Radio Maria US. Jesus Christ is the light of the nations. And we'll see you next time right here on Catholic Answers Today.